Right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? This is Will with Keller Williams Realty. Is this Dan? Hello, Dan.
Hey, Will. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, sir?
Good. Just checking in to see what you're doing.
Wanted to see what you guys were doing in regards to lender-mediated properties report and the market.
Excuse me?
It's a report that nobody ever looks at.
Yeah.
So I was curious about if you have time to have a conversation on this. So in FastStats, we have a report that is called the Lender Mediated Properties Report. So if we look, I'm going to jump over here so you can see, like this is through FastStats. You're familiar with FastStats?
Yep, use it all the time.
And we usually look at the local market updates. Okay. Occasionally, we'll look at the indicators and housing supply, but rarely do we ever look at the foreclosure report. And this is that report.
Yeah.
And at the front page, it outlines, it calls itself, there it is, lender mediated property. So lender mediated, when property is those marked certain things, court approval required, deed restricted, but this is your evictions also. You kind of saw in this count as I'm interpreting it, and as it's been kind of shown to me from other trainings. Anyways, what I'm looking at is that we have the long decline through.
But can I ask you how do you see that there are evictions when you sell the property? Where is that on the MLS?
It's using certain things like those marked in the San Diego MLS with the following: call agent, court approval required, deed restricted program, estate, HAP, HUD, housing urban development, NOD, need short sale, no lender knowledge, other remarks. So it's got a way of just filtering out all the things that say that this is something that has additional hoops to jump through to closing.
Okay.
And what the assumption is that, yes, it's hard to identify how much backup there is in the eviction world and how much inventory is there, right? Because that's the question most of us are asking is how many homes are or normally would be active right now due to the eviction process that aren't because of what's gone on in the past year plus. Now this number, and this is where you got to get really kind of specific, as you can see, it declined all the way from 2012. We're at the peak of short sales. And we saw that fall off, and it sort of hit like a sense of regularity. We were around 1,000 a month, and it dipped down a little bit, but averaged about 1,000 a month up until the eviction moratorium. Then right after the moratorium, we saw a quick decline, and then the new number is closer to, I don't know, that's an estimate, but let's say 200. So what I would do is just using, the difference sort of algebraically say, well, everything that's not happening here traditionally is being held back by the eviction moratorium, and all the ones that were allowed to happen still kept on going. And that's what this 200 a month is. So the delta there is if we averaged 1,000 a month going into this, and now we're down to 200 a month, there's 800 homes a month that normally would have gone through this process that never hit the market.
Oh, but not just the moratorium, but also short sales and all that, right? Everything. You're talking everything.
Everything. But there's one way to say is that there's quite a few homes out there. And in all, what does this really mean to you? Because that's the entire county, and 800 homes a month for the last, let's just say 10 months to make it a round number, that's 8,000 units. How do I, how many of that is going to impact me? San Diego County sells closer to 40,000 annually. So that is a significant size right. of the market. But how many are those listings that actually fall within your area? How many listings do you think that you have to market to with this messaging? Because this is back to like the market ahead and the real estate conversations that we're planning on having. Is there a conversation? Is there a message? Is there a script or something that I should put into my regular communication that is going to speak to this because I see an opportunity in my area? And that's where you can take this list and then start looking at exacting areas. So let's get this back because they do have sections. So where is like 92025 or 92129? Rancho Penasquitos doesn't seem, it seems rather nominal. And this is inventory for July. Total represents traditional and lender modified activity. So lender modified's on the right, lender modified's on the left, closed sales August. So it's giving you a 12-month. And the market share for lender modified in the past 12 months has been suppressed by, what are we counting? We're saying that's 80%. Okay, so here's the stretch in the math, the way that I'd calculate it. If we're saying it's down 80%, right? We were typically seeing 1,000 units a month in this category for the entire county. It's suppressed down to only 200 we were seeing on that report. So 80% was missing over that period. In the past 12 months, there's only been 31. So that's the 20%. So we're missing the other 80%. So 4 times that. So if I said 31 times 4, that would be 124. There should be 124 more listings that were in this number that weren't there, that should be coming onto the market now in 92129.
But that's assuming, but you're assuming that the 800 mark was
Is
normal.
unilateral. What?
But that was normal.
Yeah.
But that was trending down, and it leveled for how long, that 800?
1 year.
1 year. Okay, so you said right at the start of COVID.
That's what it looked like. Let's go back and check it out.
That's interesting.
But so if we look at this, this is the long-term trend starting back in 2012. So there's a year. So every block is 6 months. So roughly a full 12 months between here and here. Was it holding strong at 1,000 units a month? And then over the past 8 months through this, and really I think that trickling off would be things that were already in the process before the moratorium had kicked off. So if I count this as a sharp drop off and just think that's the new level, it has been a solid year of being under 20%.
Yeah, that seems substantial enough of a time period to assume what you're assuming.
So the other part that's difficult about this, though, is we're trying to figure out not all evictions are equal, right?
Sure.
Certain areas, different price ranges are going to have different rates of eviction. I don't expect to see many evictions in Rancho Santa Fe compared to what I'd see in lower income areas or lower price bracket homes, right?
Yep.
So it's still a whole lot of discovery, but the question is do you think that there's evictions in your farm?
I'm working on one right now. Well, I don't know what they've done. I've deferred to an attorney. I'm not. Ty said that, but I said I can't give you advice on this. So, yeah, someone who I believe is eligible for an eviction. They've paid every month. They're fine, and they don't want to leave, and they're trying to work out a deal with the sellers, and the sellers need the money and want to move on. So I'm kind of in the middle of one. And that's interesting. And I did sell a house, was it this year? I think it was this year that they were in forbearance, right? So not an eviction, but those types of things are here, of course.
So here's the other question. When it comes to your business, I think that market share is the name of the game, right? Market share of listings in your farm is the biggest influencer for whether or not you're going to get the next listing. That's traditionally what we think. Do you think that holds true?
Absolutely.
So the next thing to inspect, and I think everybody has to do this very uniquely on their own to really make a really good idea on how much they want to invest, how much time they want to put into this. But the question I think that you have to ask yourself is, do I need to send out a specialized message to my absentee owners? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, but at the same time, where are you going with this as far as how to market if the moratorium is still in effect and hands are tied by landlords right now? Where are you going with it?
In order to be effective in advertising, you really have to understand the perspective of your client, not yourself, right?
Right.
So let's just use a rough guesstimate. But based on that number, we saw that there should be roughly fivefold the number of evictions in your area. You know of one. So let's say that in that farm, there's actually 4 more evictions that could be your business. They could be your future listings, right? So now the question is that you don't know how to get in front of those 5, and you don't know which 5, but you can create a targeted audience of the absentee owners. You know how to get a list of those, right?
Yep.
So now the question is if those absentee owners that do intend, the 4 listings that are available out there, and they're reading the news and they're seeing headlines about eviction moratorium one way or the other, we don't know how true or what they believe to be true is, because they're getting their news from wherever it's presented to them. And the likelihood of those possible clients listing their home with you is going to be in perspective to you getting in front of that messaging. Because do you think there are other agents right now that are just blasting, hey, I can help you out with the evictions that you didn't think you could make happen? Are you a landlord that would like to sell the property, but you haven't been able to put it on the market due to the eviction moratorium? I may have an option for you to sell your property.
Who's doing that?
What?
Who's doing that?
I don't know, but do you want to be the one that's doing that in front of those prospective clients? Or do you feel like that, is there any negative impact of getting ahead of that headline and being the one that's doing it?
My first thought was, your headline that you just presented was, what is the answer?
Mm-hmm.
So when they call me, what information do I have to provide them?
Largely, it's still going back and listening to exactly what Ty laid out there.
Right.
They still have options, but I would just want to be in relation with them and then start talking to a resource, probably a legal resource that can help me really navigate that exactly. My understanding is that the first thing that we have to do to figure out if they're able to conduct an eviction is going through and asking them some basic questions on what is the status of the home. You do have grounds to evict them if they've breached things outside of the moratorium. Are you documenting this? What is your situation? What is your intent? Do you want to sell the properties just because you need to get it off the market and you're losing money? What's the situation there? Yeah, I think it can go a lot of different directions, but if the person reaches out to you and says, look, I've got a tenant that's taking advantage of this, they've gone through and done all these things that are other gross violations of our agreement or lease agreement, then you definitely do have ground. The other one is also saying and going through that questionnaire just to establish the rapport and saying, well, let's talk through it and find out where you're at. And what I can tell you is, if you aren't eligible to move forward with an eviction at this time, what I can do though is stay on top of this. And the moment that I see that it's going to happen, I will reach out to you directly, and you can always follow back up with me with any question. So you get what I'm saying though?
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting perspective on all that.
I don't think you agree with me. You think you want to steer clear of it?
Yeah, I feel like that's I've always been neutral. I've always been soft touches. I've always been neutral. And trying to help someone navigate an eviction, which really wouldn't be much at all. It would be what you said was great, and kind of what Ty reviewed, right? Are they breaching other things in the lease? Mm-hmm. But do they qualify to be evicted? And then after that, it's talk to your attorney. I just feel like I don't know. It doesn't feel comfortable to me to try and push marketing, but then really not have a lot to offer. That's what it feels.
The phrase that's resonating in my head, and I feel like as we go through trainings, you've been through BOLD. BOLD specifically gives the exercise of anchoring, right? Do you have any anchors from BOLD? You froze up again. Oh no. There yeah, you're moving now, but now can I hear you?
No, no, I don't.
You don't. Okay, so anchors can be all sorts of things. Usually BOLD will talk about, MAPS talks about doing it through a physical action. You kind of reinforce, positive behaviors, and you try and associate negativity with bad behaviors. But then there's also a lot of phrases, and there's a lot of BOLD laws that you can kind of anchor to encompass larger ideas. And the one that I'm hearing right now, or the one that resonates with me around this conversation, is if you want to succeed in business, if you want to do incredible, be the best at something that nobody else is willing to do. That sort of statement, I don't know if you've
Yep.
heard it. I've heard it in a few different arrangements.
Yep.
It is something that comes out of like the One Thing and several KW books. But that is exactly what happened in 2010, 11 with short sales, is that there were agents that had great businesses running, and they didn't want to foster one of their 5 lead levers, right? Which would have been the growing short sale market. And they said, I'm doing fine after my farm and my SOI and my open houses. I've got plenty of leads coming in. My business is good. They are turning down a little bit, but that's just the market. And they just held on. And then essentially over time, that kept on sliding back slowly, gradually. And they saw that, short sales were becoming a thing, and they would see advertisements, but they were still saying 2011, it's been a whole year. Short sales haven't picked up. I'm not losing any business, and I'm still doing well enough. I'm surviving. I'm not taking too bad of a hit in the market. The market's doing terrible anyways. And then 2012 hit, and it was just a complete flip on where everybody was at in the way that they saw the market and the homes, and short sales had just overtaken in those 12 months. And the agents now were saying, well, I'm doing okay and I'm not starving, but geez, my business is cut down by nearly half, and I don't have a way to service any of these short sale leads. And then the Market Center developed a short sale in-house program, and they were actually more profitable than a lot of the agents, because the agents weren't willing to learn how to do a short sale or get in relationship with a short sale navigator. And it was just strictly on the fact that they didn't want to change for the market ahead. Now, I'm not saying that you need to invest hours and hours or build out a whole department, because you don't have to. It's not there yet, but it's better to dig the well ahead of time than to dig the well when you're thirsty sort of mentality, right? So we don't want to be learning about eviction moratoriums or trying to develop rapport and relation with our clients in your farm when it's already happening. We are going to be having so much farther to catch up if a competing agent has already helpfully managed evictions and now is advertising in Harmony Grove. I've helped other absentee owners, investment property owners evict clients when they thought it was impossible. I just did it with this home. How can I help you? So that's kind of I just want to see if you think that's enough motivation to like look at that and inspect it a little bit. I think it would be worthwhile, because even though maybe you don't have a great opportunity to help them out, maybe you don't have a tremendous value proposition and just easy turnkey solutions, because you do have the knowledge to help them know where they stand. And if you don't, you definitely have the ability to get that training. But the opportunity is to build the rapport with those absentee owners now, because maybe their motivation isn't going to be evictions in 2 months. Maybe their motivation is going to be something completely different. But the fact is you're using their front of mind ideas right now to get into relationship. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I don't think you like it.
Yeah, I get where you're going, and it totally makes sense. And I don't know if I'm up for it or not. I got to think about it.
All right, so let's figure out the best thing on how to figure out if you're up for it before you start thinking, and you can think while we're talking. But the whole point we go to school is to take tests in a safe environment and try things out without putting up too much risk, right? We can do science experiments, and we're not risking actual real science. We're just learning along the way and finding out how scientists actually do the things professionally. And that's what this safe space is about. So do you want to be an absentee owner, or do you want to be the agent trying to help them out with a home that they're not cash flowing on?
Obviously, I'd like to be the absentee.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? This is Will with Keller Williams Realty. Is this Dan?
Oh, yeah. How's it going?
Hey, Dan, I'm just calling out to some of the homeowners in the Harmony Grove area. I had you on a list that you don't live in the property, but you do have tenants in it. And the eviction moratorium is something that many people don't like to talk about and don't really want to spend a lot of time studying, but that's my job. And I'm reaching out to help out homeowners with information on how to handle that if that's an issue. Do you have any questions in regards to that, or is that something that you're having a problem with? Is your property cash flowing for you right now?
Well, actually, I'm glad you called. I don't know what to do with my tenants right now. I'd love to sell the property, but I don't really know what to do.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'd love to hear about, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'd like to get them out, and I'd like to sell the property. I think this is the right time to sell, and I'd like to take the cash.
Okay. Well, so the eviction moratorium, as well as everything that's happening right now with various regulations changing, it's all over the place, and it really seems to change by the hour. But you do have some options if the tenants are violating some of the baseline procedural rules and conditions. What's the instance, or what's going on with the tenant, or are they simply just not paying and that's the only issue?
Well, we're getting to a point where their lease is up in a month, but they said they don't want to leave, and because they can't find a home to get into next, and
Okay.
they're basically, nothing's happened yet, but they're threatening to stay. So
Well, let me ask you this. So they haven't missed a payment?
nope, they've been good.
So you would just like to sell the property, just to cash in on the incredible investment you made. I see you purchased this property 4 years ago. Even if you bought it a month ago, it's still gone up in value.
Absolutely.
Um, if that's the main motivation, it sounds like if we found another investor that was looking to purchase the property and they may be enticed by having tenants already in it with a good record of paying, would that suit your needs?
I always thought that investors aren't going to pay market value, so I didn't think that would be a good option.
I understand completely. And yes, part of it is that, but at the same time, the real estate market's crazy right now, and people are kind of happy to move money. And there is a little bit of an audience that I see that people are happy to kind of overpay for an investment just because they'd rather have their money there than somewhere else. Um, again, that's my challenge. And again, that's a free service I provide to you. So what you're telling me is if I can find an investor that's going to take this off your hands and be happy with the tenant staying in the property, that would hit your goal, right?
I think so, but at the same time, my tenants aren't cooperating, and so
Okay.
how am I going to, if they're telling me they're not going to leave, how am I going to show the house?
Okay.
How are we going to market it? If they're going to have the home looking horrible, I haven't been in the home for a while. How are we going to get that? I just don't see how this would work.
And that is what I do. That is my job, is to help facilitate your needs around the real estate. You know, you've given me some interesting challenges, and like I said, I would sit back and research the best course of action for you on this. Really, the intent of my call right now today sounds like you're letting me know what you're interested in, and I would be willing to invest the time to come up with a plan for you. And provided I can find a great one, I'd love to move forward with it. Do we kind of we're on the same page here?
Sounds like it.
All right. Well, again, I can't promise you anything just yet because I'm going to literally look into the codes for the neighborhood. Luckily enough, I'm the #1 agent in the area, so I know them pretty well. But give me a couple days and I will get this all taken care of. I'll follow up with you and hopefully I can present you something that will make you happy. Can I get an email, or should I just follow up by phone like I just called you? You froze up again. Oh, there you are. I got you.
No,
What?
can't keep up with your connection.
No.
No, that was good. Well, yeah, interesting. That was good.
But you don't like making those calls.
Yeah, those are tough for me. But hey, honestly, though, even a different postcard to start. I don't know, but maybe I can talk with Jason and get an updated list again, and start with that and see how many there are absentees, and see what's out there actually. So interesting.
I think that would be a really decent project to take on. Going into the end of the year, going into the market that we're anticipating coming in the next year, we're using the eviction topic as an opportunity to develop rapport. And the value of it isn't just to find people that need help with evictions, because most of the time you may not find that. But this is a trending topic that will be in the mindsets of the clients that you do want to have rapport with, regardless of if they want that service or not. Absentee owners are people that own multiple properties, they are investors, and they are the ones that are really going to drive your business in the next 12 months. So even the ones that don't need help with an eviction may be interested in other opportunities for property. They may be interested in whatever the next big trend is. If they feel like they have money in the stock market that they want to move into property because they've seen such great returns on their investment property, the question is, hey, the market actually is taking a little bit of a dip and we're seeing less competition. If I see any awesome investment opportunities in the area over the next few months, would you like me to follow up with that? Would you be interested, or do you have motivation to actually make a purchase for investment purposes before the end of the year?
I see where you can take it quite a few different ways. So I appreciate you expanding.
You just got to have fun with the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't expecting any of this today. So